Welcome to the Connect with TrueSight webinar. During today's webinar, you're able to ask questions of our panelists. The questions and answers, along with the recording, will be published to our YouTube channel a week from today's broadcast. Today's topic is TSCO Best Practices for Installation and Upgrade, and Adrian Cermeno will take us through this content. Over to you, Adrian.
Thank you, Greg. My name is Adrian Cermeno. I have been working with BMC since 2016, providing support to TrueSight capacity optimization, that is also known as TSCO. I'm accredited and certified on capacity optimization, and today we are going to talk about TSCO best practices for installation and upgrade. So let's take a look to today's agenda. Before we start, for simplicity, I will be referring to TrueSight capacity optimization as TSCO. On today's webinar, Connect with TrueSight, on the overview, I will make an introduction to what is TSCO and the audience target of this webinar. On the planning section, we will cover sizing and pre-check validation that will allow us to have a smooth installation upgrade. On the demo section, due to the time, we will concentrate only on the upgrade as is the most used procedure. Finally, post-check verification, where I will log into TSCO console and walk you through all recommendations to validate the product is working properly. On the reference, you will find links to knowledge articles related to AMIGO, that is a BMC program to assist our customers to achieve a smooth install and reduce potential problems while upgrading, providing end-to-end collaboration, sizing of customer environments, unique upgrade situations, and priority to SEP 1K support. What is TSCO? TSCO enables capacity planners to analyze, forecast, and optimize IT capacity and performance across all IT resources and environments. It helps you understand the usage of resources by showing you the current utilization level of a server, avoid risk identifying upcoming saturations, improves efficiency by identifying underutilized or overallocated resource, and manage demand to satisfy new workload requirements for a period of time. This webinar will help our customers to accomplish a successful upgrade by planning, verify requirements, upgrade execution, and post-verification. As well, I will provide introduction information for a new installer of the TSCO product. I will explain sizing concepts that will help you have a general view of the size of your environment, how the number of systems you are planning to monitor are translated to TSCO, and some architecture recommendations. Also, I'm going to cover the pre-check verification before the actual execution of the installation upgrade, review the different installation options that the product offers, and general recommendations. I'm going to present a step-by-step upgrade using X window, and finally, we will review the post-verifications that will allow us to confirm that the product is up and running, bullet points of certificates, and how to do a TSCO health check. Success through planning. A successful TSCO deployment requires planning the architecture and installation environment. When you decide to install TSCO, you should take in consideration the next points. On the version, always plan to install the latest version that will have full support product, newest features, complete integration with other products, and also most recent supported operating system that at the end provides more secure environments. For architecture and environment, make sure for a production environment that each of the server components, including presentation server and remedy single sign-on, are installed on separate computers. Have an additional test or dev environment mirroring the configuration of your production. This will allow you to test important changes and also upgrades to newest version. That will help you get familiar with the procedure before actually executing on production. Do not install the TSPS or RSSO on the same machine as the TSCO application server. Communication protocols and ports. Define the type of protocol that will be used on your environment if you are going to use HTTP or HTTPS. Also make sure ports are properly configured on firewalls or other security scans that your company can have. Complete list of ports and communication flow can be found on our TSCO documentation. Part of the planning is the sizing of your environment that is mostly based on the workload we handle and the data retention. There are other factors to be considered, so for this point, I highly recommend you to take advantage of the TSCO AMIGO program, as sizing is part of the assistance, and AMIGO can provide a sizing report that is based on the information filled on a questionnaire. Finally, database. TSCO supports Oracle and Postgres database. The current compatibility offering for the Postgres database supports environments that can handle a maximum of 80 million records per day with the right resource allocation. Oracle can handle very large environments of 600 million records per day, and you can scale to increase the workload by resizing your environment that we can also assist you through our AMIGO program. It is highly recommended for both Oracle and Postgres to have a formal DBS signed to manage the database. Components of TSCO are designed to enable scaling based on considerations to be taken. Presentation server scales based on the number of users that will be connecting to the user interface. The application server component scales on the number of users using the console, as well as the numbers of reports generated. The ETL engine is based on the number of managed systems and connected to external database, as well as time series and resolution of the data collected. The database server scales based on the resolution of the data, retention of the data, and reports that are also stored on the database. The gateway server is an optional component that allows the product collects data from physical Unix Windows servers and scales based on the number of agents, time series, and resolution of the data collected. Finally, historical data that is planned to be recovered on the environment. We have different ways to import historical data, but the main point that impacts the environment is the amount, resolution, and retention. Now, looking into a more detail of how TSCO calculates the size of each entity or system that is being monitored is this example I'm presenting on the screen. It will provide an idea how the number of entities, data collected, and resolution affects the sizing. Taking in consideration 1,250 entities, collecting 40 data rows each with a resolution of 1 hour for 1 day, TSCO will be processing 1.25 million rows. But if the same data will be collected on a different resolution of 15 minutes, the sizing increased drastically to 5 million rows. The table below provides a general view of different environment sizes with the respective database requirements. I want to make clear that these do not represent the complete range of scalability options. Please contact BMC customer support for your sizing environments. These deployments are based on average utilization and default agent policies that controls the data retention. As well, you can see here more clearly the difference between an environment using Postgres and another using Oracle database. Now we will jump into the pre-check verification of a TSCO upgrade. Let's go through the list. On systems, review the requirements for the application server and ETL engine. Ensure that your system met the new requirement before starting the upgrade. Validate that the version is compatible with the RSSO and TSPS that will be integrated. For the database, as mentioned on the previous point, review the new requirements for database and client before starting your upgrade. For example, on our latest version of TSCO 2002, only supports version of Oracle Client 12 and later. On components, starting version 11.5 and later, the memory requirements for the system that hosts the application server has been increased from 8 GB to 16 GB on the minimum supported configuration. Ensure that your system has enough RAM to accommodate this increased value. The Data Hub component must have a minimum of 10 GB of free space for the H2 data migration. Environment. Ensure that you have a backup of the TSCO database and file system of the application server installation folder. That is the CPID base folder, by default /opt/bmc/beco. There are two types of installation upgrade using the wizard or silently. For an X Windows upgrade, make sure it's working properly on each server. For example, you can test by running the setup script on the machines to make sure it's working. By experience, we have been in situations where upgrades are cancelled due to this detail. For silent option, make sure to use the silent file template that comes with the installation package, and not one from all releases. This will avoid missing properties or other new configuration that have been added on new releases. In the user privilege, it's recommended to execute the upgrade using the owner user. If and only if you are planning to change your TSCO repository from local to share, then you need to execute with root. That is the only user containing this feature on the wizard. Always check your system task before executing an upgrade. Make sure these are in green OK status. Copy the installation image to each of the TSCO machines that will be upgraded. This step will save you a lot of time when you are ready to start the setup execution. Finally, for upgrades from version 10.7 to older, make sure to first migrate your custom views using our migration toolkit. The link to download it and requirements is added on the reference section. Let's now execute an actual upgrade from TSCO 11.5 to the latest 2002 version. I will be using an X window installation option. You will see how easy the upgrade is and how little I need to specify because I have done all the pre-check verifications mentioned. I'm connected to the application server with CPID user that is the owner of the TSCO installation 11.5. I'm going to execute the setup script of TSCO 2002. The installer validates each of the options I select on the screen and will bring up an error message if any of those validations fails. This is the first screen of the installer. It's a welcome message where we can validate the version of the installer I'm executing. I'm going to click Next. I accept the license agreement and click Next. This screen confirms the upgrade scenario mentioned previously from 11.5 to 2002. I'm going to click Next. Here we see all the components installed on the machine. I will click Next now. I confirm I'm going to continue using the same protocol. Here we can see the information of the RSSO and TSPS integrated with TSCO. No change required here. I select Oracle, that is the database I'm using. And these are the connection details to the database. Since this is an upgrade, the information is already filled, but for new installation, it's required to specify all this information. On this screen, the installer wants us to confirm if we want to continue using the same agent configuration or change it. The option to continue using the same configuration is the best practice for the upgrade. The agent configuration can be easily changed by the TSCO administrator after the upgrade via the TSCO UI. Finally, this is a summary of the components that will be upgraded. All looks okay, so I'm going to click Install. The installation has ended successfully, so I can now click on Done to finish the wizard. The post-check verifications are going to help you validate your environment has been upgraded or installed successfully. Let's go through the list. Health check. There are two sections on the TSCO console that you need to navigate for this point. Diagnostic alerts that will confirm there are no process failing, and system tests that will confirm components are up and running. Also, it's highly recommended to capture a log grabber from the TSCO application server and store it on your PC or server. In case any issue is presented after the upgrade, we will want to review the installation logs and the log grabber that contains the DDL deployment logs to ensure that the database schema update has proceeded smoothly. After finishing an installation or upgrade, always install the latest service pack and cumulative hotfix. Once you install the latest CHF, you can continue to upgrade the presentation server plugin and also the package. The packages are confirmed by the capacity views on third-party vendor CTLs. This is a best practice recommendation since views and plugins are required to be redeployed after a CHF installation. If you have custom ETLs created with Integration Studio, you will require to upgrade Integration Studio and re-import the ETL package. Finally, when you install TSCO, an Apache web server is automatically installed, and a private key with a self-signed certificate is generated during the installation upgrade. The Apache web server is part of all the application server installations. To prevent certificate-related warnings while accessing TSCO from a browser, you must install a certificate that is signed by a certification authority. Let's now connect to the TSCO console of the environment we just upgraded. As I mentioned previously, to run a health check, we need to navigate to the diagnostic alerts under Administration, System, Diagnostic Alerts. You can see here if there are any warnings or critical alerts that are affecting the environment. For example, we can see on the list there is an scheduler error message that has been reported today. The reason is that all components are restarted during the upgrade, so this is an expected alert. This also presents when you do a CHF or service pack installation, since also requires to restart all components. The thing to look at is the occurrence. If this issue keeps presenting, the occurrence value will increase and action needs to be taken. The second point mentioned for a health check is to review the system task status under Administration, ETL and System Task, System Task. Here, I can see that the task component status checker is ending on error. Let's look into that real quick and see what is the reason of the error. By clicking on the task name and the run detail of the last execution, I can say it's telling me that my presentation server is not running the latest plugin version. This is also an expected error on an upgrade since the version has changed on the application server. Also is one of the pre-check verifications that I will come back later to this point. The next verification is to collect a log grabber of the application server under Administration, Maintenance, Maintenance Activities. Click Execute Log Grabber, and once it's finished, save the file on your computer or server. If you present any strange symptoms on your environment, open a case with BMC support, including the log grabber. The installation of latest CHF or service pack is very important as it contains fixes to known issues. You can download the latest CHF from our FTP site or the service pack from our EPD site. To upload CHF to your environment, navigate to Administration, Maintenance, and Patches tab. And scroll down to the section Upload Patch. I highly recommend to do this verification before updating your views or the presentation server plugin, as CHF also contains fixes that will require to be redeployed. This way you can avoid repeating the steps. Once you install the latest CHF, on this same section you can download the presentation server plugin that will be downloaded to your machine and needs to be transferred to the presentation server. Due to the time, I will not run through the process, but this can be found on our TSCO documentation. In additional package, you can find the capacity views and ETLs from third-party vendors like Mobility and Sentry that also require to be upgraded. For the capacity views, it's not a complex process and it doesn't take too much time, as you only need to click on the redeployed icon and click Next through the wizard. For the ETL, it is required to download the package from our EPD site according to the vendor and TSCO version. This can be uploaded from this same section at the bottom of the table. Now let's talk about the most common issues reported during an installation upgrade. This is a common error presented during the execution of an installation upgrade using X Windows option. The root cause is the display variable is not set on the machine, and this is required to execute graphics installation. The solution presented is a knowledge article that provides different options to set the variable or enable graphics on the machine. Another common issue reported during installation upgrade is the missing libraries on the machine, in this case font. The reason why it's a very common issue is that we used to provide this library with our installation package, but from 11.5 and later version is now a requirement to be installed by the customer. The knowledge article added on the solution clearly specifies the root cause of the issue and how to install the missing library on the machine. Finally, the third most common issue is database connection problems that normally presents due to incorrect credentials or database parameters. In this case, it's highly recommended to test the connection from the application server to TSCO's database using Oracle or Postgres client with sysdba user, or the one provided by your DBA admin that contains the correct permissions. As well, the KA mentioned on the solution contains steps to test the connection using JDBC URL and generates a file with the connection results. For further assistance on common issues, we have recently created the TSCO Troubleshooting Guides that contains different topics included install upgrade of TSCO. You can find this guide on the TSCO documentation under Troubleshooting section. These guides are based on the knowledge and experience assisting our customers during the install upgrade process. The guides include reference to knowledge articles, to known and common reported issues, and steps on how to collect logs and other relevant data in case you need to contact BMC support. You can also take advantage of the BMC AMIGO program, designed to complement and upgrade efforts to achieve a smooth install and reduce potential problems while upgrading. The program goal is to provide guidance and end-to-end collaboration during the planning and implementation stage of an installation upgrade. TSCO AMIGO program is divided on two cases, the starter and implementation. On the starter case, we provide a questionnaire for existing and projected environment information. The questionnaire includes instructions to generate pre-check report that will allow us to generate a sizing report if required. For an upgrade process, we help you define the best path for your target version, and we can schedule an interactive session of question and answers that you can have under the documentation provided. At the end of this case, you will be able to develop an implementation plan that can be followed to achieve a successful installation upgrade. On the implementation case, we want to look at your implementation plan to provide feedback or confirmation that the plan is properly defined. We clear any questions or concerns that you can have regarding the execution steps, and finally, provide a word to BMC on the date you are planning to execute the install upgrade. That way, we can provide a quick response if you present any issues. This is the reference section I have mentioned through the presentation. These are useful knowledge articles that are related to topics covered on this webinar. I will not go through the list, but they will be included as clickable links on the BMC community page for the webinar. In summary, as part of the pre-verifications for install upgrade, always get a sizing of your environment. The best practice is to open an AMIGO case with customer support, get a sizing report of your new deployment or current environment. Validate that operating system and component requirements are met. For an upgrade, always have a backup of your TSCO database and application server file system. For the actual execution, verify the installation image is copied to the servers and make sure to execute the upgrade using the owner user. For post verifications, make sure the environment is working properly by reviewing the diagnostic alerts and system tasks. Apply the latest service pack and cumulative hotfix, follow up by the upgrade of package and presentation server plugin. Install a certificate that is signed by a certification authority to prevent certificate-related warnings. Finally, do not hesitate to contact BMC support if the problem is more complex that requires a matter expert. This concludes my presentation. Back to you, Greg.
Thank you, Adrian. And I will take us through the self-help in contacting BMC. The YouTube channel where this webinar will be posted has a rich set of how-to videos and other webinar recordings. The Connect with TrueSight webinar schedule is at this communities link. It has future webinars as well as past webinars we've had across the TrueSight family. To contact BMC via web, phone, and email, as well as these social channels. That will conclude this webinar. Thank you for attending.